everybody, I'm Angie Larson, and I get to serve as the executive pastor here at Calvary, and I am so honored that you are worshiping with us today. Today we're kicking off our new worship series that we call Picture Perfect Family. Now, I don't know about you, but when I look at other people's families, I imagine in my head that they have it all figured out, that they have all their stuff together and they're super organized and they all just love each other in nice harmony. But then when I look at my family, I realize the mess that we're in and how hard we work to hustle and cover up the messes so that other people don't see our imperfections. I think God has a lot to say about what it means to be family and how there's actually no picture-perfect family. I'm really excited about this series, so stick with me and we'll explore it together.
Honey, have you seen this one?
Oh, will you look at that?
All right, kids, we got 10 seconds.
10 seconds, everyone. Oh! Hey!
Whoa. Whoa.
Right in front of him, yep. Smile.
There's another one. Oh, look.
Oh! Ah!
Perfect.
Oh, my elbow hurts.
Happy birthday! No! Dad!
What an angel.
Okay, 10 seconds, everyone.
Honey, is that your mom's sweater?
Well, we must have done something right.
Welcome to our worship series, Picture Perfect Family. I thought I'd start off this series with a picture of my picture perfect family. This is my family here last year on Thanksgiving Day on the shores of Lake Bergen, right here in Alexandria. I'll introduce you to my family. There's my oldest son, Chase, and his girlfriend, Gabby, who we love, my daughter, Mackenzie, my little one, Skylar, my son, Sawyer, my husband, Ryan, and I, and our little dog, Goober. They're in this picture perfect family. You look at this picture, and it seems like Christmas card worthy, doesn't it? I think we look pretty good in this photo. But if I'm honest with you today, there was a lot of other things going on for this picture to happen. First of all, my son Chase, he stepped in the lake before we took this picture. And so one of the reasons his leg is cut off is because his pant leg is completely wet on the bottom there. The part that you're missing too is that we had to set up our little camera right onto a little broken chair, and we had to take probably 25, 30 different opportunities to try and get this perfect picture of our family. You won't notice either, but I stepped in a little hole, a little rain divot on my way down to the lake, and so I'm kind of wincing a little bit in pain. We tried this so many times, the kids were losing patience, they were poking each other, somebody's eyes were closed in every other photo. We started snapping at each other. And it's funny to actually think about all these things, this beautiful imperfection, just to try and get a perfect picture. When I think of the lengths that we go to try and get the perfect pictures to hang on our walls or to print on our Christmas cards or to post on our Instagrams, we try so hard to make our family look perfect. Or maybe some of you just say, I'm not going to even try at all. It's not even worth trying because there'll be so much work and so much arguing in order to even try and capture that moment. But here's the truth. No matter what their Instagram or their front porch says about people, none of our families are perfect. And here's the truth too. I don't actually think that God expects them to be, which is what we're going to be talking about during this sermon series. If you do a quick Google search for awkward or cringy family photos, you're going to see some that maybe at one time seemed picture perfect. Photos like these. I don't know what's going on here, but this gene on gene thing probably seemed like a good idea. But then, or this one where they're living inside their father's mind. Or maybe this picture where somebody made matching outfits for the whole family so they thought they would try to do it. Or this one, hey kids, I want you all to line up, stick your hands in your back pocket and turn around and smile. Or this one, who had the idea of everybody holding a phone or two, including the little kids? So this one's got 2 phones in his hand for their family photo. Or maybe this one. This is me and my siblings when we were little. Check out the hair on your 13-year-old pastor. Oh my gosh, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on there. These cringy family photos, they are part of our history. When I was just 20 years old, I was back from college and living with my parents. And I'm the oldest of 4 children, and all of us were home at that time. And I am kind of a night owl. I'm the only night owl really in my family. So often when I was home with my parents, I would fall asleep watching TV in the living room. We had a little sleep timer, so I would just set that and fall asleep on the couch. And one April, I fell asleep on the couch and the TV was turned off, and I just expected that I would wake up when my family started walking around the living room. But I want to set the scene for you. So the living room was on one side of the kitchen and the back of the couch was facing the kitchen. So I'm sleeping facing this direction and the kitchen is over on the other side. So imagine me peacefully asleep on the couch, and all of a sudden I hear the most terrifying, most unusual noise coming from the kitchen. It's the sound of my dad, my pious, church-going every week, godly dad, my dad swearing. Making sailors proud with his words in the kitchen. And from a dead sleep, I stood up from the couch, and he didn't realize that I was on the couch. And I shot up because I had never heard such a noise in my entire life. I had never heard my dad use bad words. And I looked into the kitchen, and there was my dad standing there in his business attire, holding a coffee pot. But the front of his shirt was just completely soaking wet. You see, it was April Fool's Day, April 1st, and my 13-year-old youngest sister, Emily, had played a practical joke that she had set up the night before. She had rubber banded the sprayer on the kitchen sink so that it would spray as soon as you turned on the sink. I'm sure that you guys have done this in your own house on April Fool's Day. And here was my dad at 4 a.m, all dressed and ready for work. And he looked at me and he shook the coffee pot at me. And he said, "Who did this?" and here's where I was stuck. I mean, do I rat out my 13-year-old sister or do I cover for her? And I look at my dad and I say, you know, Dad, it's April Fool's Day. I mean, come on, it's a rubber band coffee trick. And then he looks at me again and he's got this fierceness in his eyes and he shakes at me. He goes, "Who did this?" And I went, "It was Emily." Emily totally rubber banded the trailer. That's right, I am ashamed to admit it, but at 20 years old, I completely ratted on my 13-year-old sister. But then I tried to back it up a little bit after I realized she was going to get in a lot of trouble. And I said, you know, Dad, it's April Fool's. It's April Fool's, and she was just trying to be funny. But then he shook the coffee pot at me again, and he said, "Stop talking." And I was quiet as a mouse. You see, this is a funny conflict in my house growing up, just like it was funny when Chase stepped in the lake on Thanksgiving Day and we had to cut off the bottom of his foot for Thanksgiving pictures. But I'll be honest, being in a family is hard. It's hard. If your family is anything like my family, we have ex-spouses and half-siblings and step-siblings and people who are family, even though there's no blood or legal attachment to them. In my family, we argue and we snap at each other, or we avoid conflict sometimes because we don't want to talk about our problems. You see, there's a lot that goes on in our families. There's a lot that goes on behind closed doors, behind the perfect picture. Here is some statistics about families in our country. 1 in 10 kids have an alcoholic parent. 1 in 5 people have a family member with a mental health diagnosis. 1 in 7 experience abuse, whether it's emotional or physical. 8 out of 10 moms report that they feel burned out, and 7 out of 10 dads report that they feel financially stressed. Half kids in our country have divorced parents, and half of the kids in our country have a family member who's incarcerated. If your family is experiencing any of these things, they're normal. They are a normal American family. I mean, let's be honest. None of us have a picture-perfect family. Not a single one of us. Now, I want to take a moment with you today for you to just relax your shoulders and to just breathe. Because the stuff that you're going through with your family, whether they're on that list of statistics or not, the stuff that you're going through is normal. It is more normal than the images that we see on Facebook or Instagram. It is normal because none of us have a picture-perfect family. There's a story in the Bible about 2 brothers. It's way back in the Old Testament. Now, these brothers, they are twins. Now, if you know any twins like I do, the twins always know which one is older, even if it's only by a minute or 2. And in this ancient time, who was older was really, really important because the oldest child got the inheritance, got the blessing, got the birthright. It went to the oldest twin. So in that 1 minute or 30 seconds or whatever, it matters a great deal in that ancient time. And these parents of these twins, their names are Isaac and Rebekah. They're part of God's chosen family line. And here is how their sons came into the world. These babies jostled within her, and Rebekah said, "Why is this happening to me?" And when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first was to come out, was red. His whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau, which actually means hairy. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob, which actually means deceiver. So Jacob and Esau, they were wrestling with each other, competing with each other, jostling with each other, even in their mother's womb. And this is just the beginning of their drama. The Bible continues. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. I mean, can you imagine their family photo? Rebekah holding her perfect Jacob, holding a beautiful pumpkin that they grew together. Meanwhile, Isaac standing there with his favorite son, Esau, holding the antlers of the deer that they just shot. Behind the scenes, these brothers are completely at each other all the time. Does this sound familiar to anyone else? It sounds like my family. But the story continues. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." Jacob, his twin brother, replied, "Well, first, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau says. So much drama. "What good is this birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. This is a biblical family, folks. One of the pillars, one of the great stories of our faith. These brothers wrestling, jostling, competing, fighting, hustling for more and more. They're just like your family, and they're just like mine. But years later, their dad Isaac is blind and he is about to die. Before he dies, it's this ancient custom to give the oldest son a blessing, showing that the inheritance moves on. So he calls for his oldest son. He calls for Esau, his favorite son. But Esau was out hunting, so Jacob sneaks in, wearing some of Esau's clothing, so he smells like his twin brother. And Isaac thinks that he's talking to his oldest son, but the Bible says this. His father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him. And when Esau gets home, he is furious. First his brother stole his birthright, and then his brother steals his blessing. This fury, it causes Jacob to run away and go and live in a distant country with some distant cousins. And the Bible says that Esau then does this. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, the picture-perfect family. And here's the thing, my friends. The Bible is full of these stories. There's not one family in the entire Bible who is picture perfect. Not one. Their family is as messy as yours is and as messy as mine. Even Jesus in the Bible, we can find out that he gets into it with his mother Mary and his stepdad Joseph a couple of times. There is no picture perfect family. Because you see, perfect was never the goal. God never asked us to be perfect. God never even imagined that for you and for me. I think we spend so much time trying to convince ourselves and other people that we've got our stuff together. We show them pictures of our family on a beach vacation that we could barely afford, or we show them our Christmas matching pajamas or our awards night. We pretend that there aren't piles on our stairs that everybody walks by every day, and that there aren't dishes in our sink, or there aren't passive-aggressive statements on the car on the way to hockey practice. But see, for God, perfect was never the goal. So maybe it's time that we stopped acting like it. What if the goal was just so much more beautiful, more loving, more vulnerable, and more peace-filled? Like the author of Colossians talks about, is a different goal. It says, Christ is all and is in all. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other, and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, you are called to peace. You see, I think God assumes that you're not going to get it right, that you're not going to be perfect ever, but encourages us to work at it, to work at life with other people, work at bearing with one another. We work at trying to be compassionate. We work at kindness. We work at forgiving, just as Christ is in all. And I want to be clear for something, just for a second. Boundaries for some families is an act of kindness. Sometimes the grievance list, the hurt list, the pain list, it's just too long and it's just not healthy. Forgiveness doesn't mean putting up with it just because you're a follower of Jesus. It means choosing to let go and let God deal with the pain and deal with the hurt. And it's working at it also. It's trusting that in the imperfection, in the messiness, that Christ has got you and your family too. So my dad at 4 a.m. and wearing wet clothes takes that coffee pot and he goes into the laundry room and he fills it full of water. And I'm just standing there, quiet, watching him with these wild eyes. And he marches down the hallway past me and he ignores me completely and he starts stomping up the stairs. And of course, I followed. I had to know what my dad was going to do. And he walks into my sister's room with this coffee pot full of water where she is sound asleep in her bed. He yells, "April Fools!" And he spills the water all over her bed, dumps the water, and he turns around, leaves her bedroom, goes into his room, and slams the door. And I sat there thinking, oh my gosh, did this just really happen? And then my 13-year-old sister comes out of her room. She's blonde and scrawny, and her pajamas are plastered to her body from being drenched with water from my dad. And she looks at me, panicked, and she said, "How did he know it was me?" And I looked at her and I said, "I have no idea." And then we leaned on the hallway wall and we sat down next to each other and she said, "I am so dead." And I said, "Yeah, I think you are." And as we're sitting there, Emily is contemplating her doom at 4:00 in the morning in her wet pajamas. As we're sitting there, my other sister, Carrie, comes out running out of her room. And she starts running down the hallway saying, I'm late. And she grabs her backpack and she starts running downstairs to get into her car. Keep in mind, it's 4:00 in the morning. And all of a sudden, Emily, she starts to shake. She said, "I am so dead." I said, "What'd you do?" She goes, I changed Carrie's clocks too. And for Jacob and Esau, their story isn't over either. You see, Jacob, he lives in this other land that he ran away to for 20 years. And in that other land, he prospers. He becomes a wealthy man with herds and herds of animals and 13 children. And Esau, in his own homeland, he prospers as well. But there comes a time when God says to Jacob that it's time for Jacob to go home. And this is a huge moment of fear for Jacob. He is afraid to encounter his twin brother Esau again. He's afraid of their history of deceit and thievery. He's afraid that his brother's going to keep his promise of killing him. And so Jacob makes his way home. And Jacob, he starts to think about how to go and butter up his brother Esau. So he sends flocks and herds ahead of him, servants ahead of him, as kind of a, I'm sorry I stole your birthright kind of gift. The Bible says this: when the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, we went to your brother Esau, and now he's coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, the flocks and the herds and the camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. He's trying to make sure he has a backup plan. You see, Jacob is sick with worry. He is torn up in knots, and he prays and he prays and he prays some more. But then Esau comes towards his twin brother Jacob, towards Jacob and his entire family encampment. And this is what happens next. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and he kissed him, and they wept. Beautiful imperfection. Just really, really human, this family story in the Bible. And back at my house growing up when I was 20, back at dinner that night, it wasn't quite this blissful. My dad was mad. And my mom was mad because my dad was mad. And my sister was mad at Emily. And my little sister, Emily, she just tried to make herself as small and quiet as possible. And at our normal dinner time, my brother, he was home from college that day, and he looked around and said, what is going on? What all is going on? He said, what did I miss? And so I said, you know how I sometimes fall asleep on the couch? I started to tell the story, and I embellished it some more, and all the mad kind of left as we started laughing and crying at the beautiful imperfection of our family. My friends, there is no perfect family, because perfect was never the goal. But here is the cool thing. We worship a God whose love for us is perfect. We have a God who's willing to come into the mess of our lives, into the mess of our families, who's willing to coach us to work at these complicated human relationships, a God who is willing to free us from all the places in which we fail and fail again. So whatever's going on in your family right now, whether it's brokenness or brevity, expectation or excitement, pain or patience, attitude or awesomeness, all of these maybe at the same time, God has got you in your beautiful imperfection. Amen.
Quiet the voice of doubt again, echo within me every promise. Let your word be louder than my fears. Speak to the void when I can't see. Lift up my head in every valley. Let your joy be greater than my go overtake me. All my hope in you. Nothing will ever break me, ever sway me. All my hope in you. Nothing will ever shake me, overtake me. All my hope
Thank you so much for joining us for worship today. Please join us in praying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us for worship here at Calvary. We have been busy focusing in on our mission to lead all people to a lifelong faith in Jesus Christ. If you're new to Calvary, we would love to connect with you. We want to invite you to join our email list. You can go on our website at www.calvaryalex.org and click on the button that says, I want to sign up for emails. That way you can be the first to hear of all the ways that God is inviting us to care for this community here at Calvary. And I just want you to know that if you have kids between 5 years old and 3rd grade, we also have a program called Calvary Kids Crates. Each month, you're able to receive a crate in your home that has educational materials and an easy booklet for you to follow to be able to talk about different Bible stories in your home. That also links to our website, www.calvaryalex.org/kids. We have videos there that supplement those activities as well. We would love for your kids in your life to receive a Calvary Kids Crate. And now as we close our time together, we're going to close with a time of offering. And there are a couple ways that you can give. We're so thankful for your generosity. This way we're able to stay committed to all of our mission partners and continue to get the good news of Jesus Christ out to the world. There are a couple of ways that you can give. The first is that you can go to our website, www.calvaryalex.org, and click on the button that says Give. The second is that you can use Venmo with the address there on your screen. The third is that you can write a check and mail it to the church at 605 Douglas Street, Alexandria, Minnesota, 56308. The fourth is that you can give a phone call to the number on your screen and we'll help you figure it all out. Hey, have a great day, everyone.